Sometime in the middle of March 2006, a young boy graduated from Atlantic City High School in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Atlantic City at the time was a school and a city, an institution, which was engrossed in drug abuse, gang wars, and prostitution. In fact, there were parts of Atlantic City that even the cops didn't go to. And Atlantic City High School was a microcosm of this larger ecosystem. And in it was a boy. The boy who believed. The boy with big dreams, but unfavorable circumstances. The boy wanted to make it happen in his life. While all his other friends were out sending out their applications to colleges, large universities across the country, he was scrambling for funds. He was trying to make just enough money to be able to pay for college. Soon enough, his reality caught up to him, and the truth confronted him. He was no longer able to pay for college. He resorted to a life of an average individual. He chose to work as a jewelry store clerk until one day an opportunity found him. The fire was still burning within him when this opportunity found him. And it was that day when he joined a mentoring program. The mentoring program would make a significant change, an impact on his life greater than what he had even imagined. The young boy joined the mentorship program. The mentorship program was designed for young entrepreneurs, for people who wanted to make it in their lives, for people who wanted to be something. And it was designed to help people learn core entrepreneurial skills. As a result, he took on projects that he would work on with the mentoring program. One of the projects that summer was for him to create a business program, a business module, and create revenue using that. But with one caveat. And the caveat was that he had to do it with another corporate professional. Being underprivileged as he was, he didn't have any corporate professionals in his life. He didn't know anybody who was a corporate professional who had ever made it to that level, ever. And so, after about a month of brooding and deliberation, he decided that he would use his networking skills, go out there and meet a corporate professional. So he goes to a bookstore, a large bookstore, and decides to meet somebody there who he would run into, and that person could just be that one guy whom he would be in business with. This guy would be his business partner. So as he sat around waiting for that one person to walk in, he notices a white BMW pull into the parking lot. And at that moment, he knows that he's got something. There is something there. As the BMW pulls over, he finds a young man stepping out of the BMW. A young 28-year-old corporate professional who's just about made it. Whippersnapper by the name of John. John steps out of the car, and as he's walking into the Barnes & Noble, the bookstore, the boy looks at him, and he knows this is the guy who he's going to be in business with. And as this guy walks in, he has got success written all over him. And the boy is excited. The boy just wants to meet this guy and make a connect. John walks in and has a seat, sits down, grabs a magazine called Men's Health with a caption, "Get abs in less than 6 months." The boy now pitching, trying to figure out a way that he's going to pitch to this guy his great business idea. And so he says, the way I'm going to do this is first, I'm going to start with some small talk. I'm going to start with some small talk, and then I'm going to pitch the hook. And what's my hook? So what's my hook? And my hook is Are you looking to make some extra money? That's going to be my hook. Sounds good. Let's do it. So the boy, with all this excitement, now is starting to see dreams of their future, of how they're going to be business partners and how they're going to have all the opportunities in the world, all the growth and all the chicks. And so with all this excitement, he begins to walk until he gets right in front of John and stands right there and forgets everything. At that moment, he was scrambling for some words, something that he could say, something that would redeem him. And so he says, what does he see? He sees his magazine and the abs. And so he says, you got abs? And at that point, the man looks at him, John looks at him and says, excuse me? At which point, the boy looks back and now is beyond redemption. So a bright idea comes to him and he says, I'm going to throw the hook. And so in the attempt of throwing the hook, he says, so are you looking? And at this point, John looks up at him, having been convinced of his assumption, and says, sorry, I'm not gay. At which point, the boy turns around and runs off into oblivion. Or at least he thought it was. Fast forward a year and a half later, the boy now lives in Richmond, Virginia. At the time when American economy was at its worst. In Richmond, Virginia, after a long day's work, the boy decides to go to a grocery store. And at the grocery store, as he pulls in his white, old, beat-up Toyota pickup truck, he slams the door shut, and as he's walking in, he notices a man, his child, and their dog walking into the grocery store. At which point, the boy walks over to the kid, ruffles his hair, looks at the man, smiles at him, and says, he's a cute kid. How old is he? The man looks back at the boy and says, oh, he's a handful. He's only 5. They then continue to walk towards the grocery store, and upon reaching the front of the grocery store, the man asks the big question. So what do you do? And the boy responds, well, currently I'm doing manual labor in construction because I couldn't find any work. But I've got a background in business, and I'm a mentor in an elite mentoring program. At which point, the man, whose name was, looks back at the boy and says, you know, I might have something for you. Are you interested in IT by any chance? The boy looks back and says, yes, absolutely. I'm fascinated by IT. And the man says, why don't you come by my office tomorrow? We'll see if we can do something together. The boy goes to the man Anil's office, then goes into doing a 2-week crash course on IT, becomes a business analyst, and then ends up taking consulting roles for organizations like Walmart and Delta Airlines. If you haven't already figured out, that boy was me. I tell you this story not to entertain you. I tell you this story for a very specific reason. I tell you this story to share with you something that I stumbled upon through my consistent and persistent process of achieving success through failure. Ideally, the way we understand success is that success is equal to opportunity and preparedness. And what I mean by that is when you have opportunity and when you are prepared for that opportunity, you are a successful person because you've achieved something at the right place at the right time. But more often than not, we ignore one very, very specific element, which is preparedness. When we consider preparedness, we look at preparedness in terms of personal preparedness. Simply put, personal preparedness representing your personal will and your personal capacity to excel and do good at something. What if I was to tell you that there's one more very, very critical element that makes a significant impact on your preparedness? It can either ail you or aid you in the process of being prepared. And that is your circumstantial preparedness. What I say is that your circumstantial preparedness in tandem with your personal preparedness is what means to be truly prepared. When looked at preparedness from a larger standpoint, you could consider your preparedness in the form of a meter, where you've got 25% slots, 2 for personal preparedness and 2 for circumstantial preparedness. Let's say that in an ideological world, theoretically, you need 100% of preparedness, 25% each. But the world is far from ideology. It's far from ideal, and it's far from theoretical. The world is full of surprises and full of twists and turns as we live our lives. What we find is that you may find in your own life that you may at some point have 1 bar of personal preparedness and 1 bar of circumstantial preparedness. What that means is you're lacking 50% of preparedness. And at that point, what needs to be done is that 50% of preparedness needs to be compensated in one way or another. In this case, circumstantial preparedness cannot necessarily fill the bar because you're subjected to your circumstance. However, what you can do is build your preparedness, your personal preparedness, to the extent that you're able to fulfill that and be 100% prepared. So when I was in school, I didn't have any money to pay for college. That was my circumstantial lack of preparedness. When I went up to John and talked to him and suffered a great embarrassment, that was my lack of personal preparedness. But when I got good, when I became circumstantially and personally prepared, I became completely prepared. And what seemed like a stroke of chance was not a stroke of chance, but a stroke of design, as a result of which I became a consultant at companies like Walmart and Delta Airlines. So there you have it. That's the preparedness equation. And coming out of this room, there will be 2 types of people. The first type of person is going to be absolutely enthusiastically excited about learning everything that he or she has learned here, going out there and applying it in his or her life, and making a difference in his life and in the lives of the people that he or she comes in contact with. The second type of person is the type of person who takes everything from here, is absolutely enthusiastically excited about taking away from here, going out there and applying it in his or her life to make a significant difference in his life and in the lives of everybody that he comes in contact with. For a moment, you're thinking, I've said the same exact thing both times. But there's a stark difference between the first type of guy and the second type of guy. The first person does it for maybe a day, maybe 2, maybe a week, maybe 2. But the second type of person does it over and 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 over until he or she has turned her personal preparedness into her circumstantial preparedness. And that is the true success. And the determining factor is that nobody knows who that person is in this room. The beautiful thing and the tricky thing at the same time about life is the fact that 98% of you will be of that first type of person, while only 2% of you will be part of that second type of person. And no one determines who that would be. You do. Thank you.